is kind of a occupational hazard of people in the helping professions to perhaps have challenges around being vulnerable. When working with clients, it's not about the therapist, it's about the client. And we have a contract for that. And so, on one hand, it's really important to disclose that we're human and struggle and have not put everything together, because we don't expect to have everything ever put completely together, on one hand. And that we're safe because we are developed human beings who have been around the block a few times and actually can handle other people's problems, and we don't need our clients taking care of us. So it's a tricky business, and it's easy to hide behind the role and still get connection. Therapists are blessed with when they're at their best, they say really great things to clients that help the clients feel safe and to feel cared for and to feel deeply understood. And the more we do that in skillful and in genuine ways, the more clients open up. And so we get the benefit on our side of a clear, intimate connection that has parameters, and but it can be a sacred experience. It can be such an honor to be in the presence of somebody doing their work and allowing us to be helpful, but also just be caring witnesses. And that in itself is so fulfilling. I got my needs met to feel seen and trusted as a good, caring person and an intelligent person. I got my needs met, but I didn't get the other side, which is, and I'm a really, I'm a really vulnerable and fallible human being. Even after all these years and all the work I've done on myself, the reality is it's an ongoing process of healing and accepting some stuff is not going to get healed, and that's okay. That's part of learning. That's part of learning deep love for oneself, is that everything doesn't get healed, and I'm still valuable and worthy and acceptable and successful. That success doesn't mean perfection at all. It means ongoing growth and ongoing discovery and change, and hopefully over many years, great transformation. It's not about arriving at any state of perfection. So I think that's been one of the hard things for me, and it may be for lots of professions where a lot of people get stuck into a role as an authority or an expert, and they don't feel like it's okay to let their clients or their customers or whoever see the humanness in them. And I think probably, although certainly not universally, I'm not the only woman who has trouble expressing her vulnerability, but I think there's more pressure on men. They have a legitimate facility to compartmentalize feelings in order to do what their ancestors did, which was to show up in scary situations and act as a protective force. And they needed necessarily to compartmentalize, not be in touch with their fears or their weaknesses or their fallible parts, because they needed to do a job. And that's still true. That's still true in the world. People who are on the front lines of dangerous, scary situations, they necessarily have to put their fears away and act according to their skill and their training and their wisdom about situations that they've just gained through time. And so I think most men probably biologically have a greater facility for containing tender, vulnerable states, and that's to be treasured and honored. But I think it can also be limiting. And maybe we're at a time in human evolution where the next step in our growth and development as a species is for women to be able to be seen and use their resources to be seen as very strong and very protective and very capable of offering that to other people, including men. And that men get to express their fears and their foibles and the places where they feel insecure and weak, that doesn't take away from their ability to be fully masculine and protective when they need to be in the ways that they're maybe uniquely wired to be. I'm reminded of a great role model just now for me, of a man who is a Canadian professor and has been a clinical psychologist, and that's Jordan Peterson. And he has, in recent months, made some very wonderful, beautiful videos where he's let himself be visibly emotional, and it's giving me courage to remember. And it's so necessary, isn't it, to have people role model for us that it's okay. It's okay to show our vulnerabilities. It's okay to show our real feelings. And so I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to express in a coherent way sort of some guidelines about how to be vulnerable. And I'm coming up a little short. It's almost more like it's something that maybe can't be taught. It can be modeled. It's like getting to that place where we stop monitoring. We stop letting the outside, whoever we think our audience is, whether it's just our spouse, and we're afraid of being shamed or afraid of being thought stupid or weak or whatever, and instead we take the risk that if we really let them see us, they're not going to leave or they're not going to laugh. There are people in the world who will leave or who will laugh. So it feels like it's something that has to be you got to kind of feel your way into. And it isn't a good idea to set yourself up to be vulnerable unless there's a pretty good chance you're going to get received, because we don't need any more shaming about our vulnerability. We don't need any more. We've already got that in spades, or it would be easy to be vulnerable. It may never feel safe initially to be vulnerable, because we have to do it first and then get the response that we're being received and seen with appreciation and compassion and related to, like, oh yeah, me too. I'm another one of those human beings that's fallible and that it's okay to show that my weaknesses and my fallibilities. And so it's important, on one hand, to use real wisdom to really assess, does this person, is this person a good bet? At least a decent bet? Or is this relationship so important to me that even if I don't have a lot of evidence and I don't get a good response, the relationship itself is so important to me that I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to just find out, is this relationship ever gonna gel so that we can have each other's backs? And in relationships, somebody has to go first. Somebody has to break the ice. Somebody's got to take the risk. And I think in these days, it may often be that the woman has to take the risk and go past defensiveness or rationality, and especially past anger, into real, this is my part. This is the part I need you to love and see. This is what's underneath the anger. Because men have had such harsh programming. And it takes time for them to let the guards down, and that it may take, in many cases, this is a place where women have to lead. Not always, and certainly it's been a back and forth in the development of my relationship with Tim, and with other people as well, with friends. It's like they risk a little bit, and then I risk a little bit, and then I risk more, and then I risk more, because they keep receiving who I am, and that's fine. That's good. I feel sad that I didn't learn how to do this sooner. And I encourage people to really learn to take risks, to be vulnerable, to show, to not monitor with those people that we really want to be close and deep with. So I'm going to stop here. I hope it's helpful.